Well, hello, everybody. It's 2:24 p.m. in Radio Land here. Yep. It's the 28th of May. It's Thursday. And we're up here in Boca Raton, Florida, on the 8th floor, directly above Chops. About 100 feet above Chops. You walk in the front door and look straight up, you see that balcony. Who knows, it may be hanging over the edge one day. I doubt it. Anyway, everything technologically looks good. So little disclaimers and disclosures. You can play it back and study that page if you want. It's not a particularly fun thing, but you gotta take care of all the legal beagle stuff. Yep. Well, SpaceX has done some magical things. Wow. Let's favorites that we do. So look at this. Donald Trump got himself married. And this young lady, Anderson, Bettina, B-E-T-T-I-N-A, Bettina Anderson. I remember, she is the granddaughter of H. Loy Anderson. And H. Loy Anderson was the owner of the Worth Avenue Bank on the island of Palm Beach. And back about 40 years ago, Royal Trust Bank bought the Worth Avenue Bank for 3 times book. And would you find out what the book value of the company is? You make an offer for X number of millions and relate that to the book value of the bank. And there's a ratio there. Typical bank gets bought by about 2 times book, 1.8 times book. A sick bank might be 0.9 times book. But the Worth Avenue Bank we paid, meaning Royal Trust Royal Trust Bank, bought it for 3 times book. And everyone thought that, we had lost our way. Yeah, no, we didn't lose our way. No sirree, Bob. We knew exactly what we were doing. Yeah. It was a very exciting bank. It had a lot of premier clients right there in the island of Palm Beach. And yeah. And H. Lloyd Anderson's wife, I forget her name. She was a socialite. I mean, a real socialite of Palm Beach. You know, floating around and going to all the parties, you know, in the early evening, and get dropped off in your Rolls Royce. I mean, the money is like, I mean, everyone's, you know, they get dropped off, you know, with their convertible Bentleys and Rolls Royces and all this stuff. Yeah, oh boy. Well, H. Lloyd Anderson's wife was pushing a stroller. And who was in the stroller but Bettina Anderson, when she was just, you know, a little whippersnipper about, you know, young. And 40 years later, who do you got right here? Bettina Anderson, 39. And Donald Trump Jr., 48, married the socialite this last weekend, yeah. I just thought that was, you know, I'm not in the social circles for sure. But I looked, I didn't recognize any faces. But I heard the news, and I was looking at the news and all this kind of stuff, and they're talking about the socialite, and oh my God. And when I saw her last name was Anderson, I figured, I'll be gall darn. She was 4 months old when her proud grandmother was pushing her around in a stroller. And 39 years later, what do we got? That's a, you know, I mean, I don't want to say it's a terrible picture, but she is an attractive lady, and she looks, you know, kind of mean-faced. Here, he's like a deer in the headlights. I don't know where the hell they got that picture from, but I trapped it on the internet anyway, just to show you. Yeah. Small world. So Marilyn and I were on the phone one afternoon, Wednesday, I think it was, and she said, "Hey, let's meet at Mia Rosebud at 5 o'clock for a little early evening cocktail." Mia Rosebud is like 600 feet away, 800 feet away from where I live. Yeah. And when you live in this downtown stuff, it's kind of amazing. You know, it's like 2 blocks away. So I said, all right, let's meet there. So I took a picture of that lamp sitting on the north. Let's see, what's this? I would say the east end of the bar, whereas further away over there in the background, that would be the more west end of the bar. Seat 5 and 6 on the corner. the other corner, seat 17 and 18. I like the corners. Yeah. So I took a picture of the lamp and I sent it to her and I said, "Seats saved. Drive carefully." Okay. So he's testifying before Congress, and you know, with all this bombing going on in Iran, you got Iraq, Iran, oh my God. So this is like supposed to be in and out, and you know, I was under the impression that we'd go in, we'd soften up the regime, and then the people would overthrow the regime and take charge of their own country. But I guess they just haven't. I think it has to do with arms. You know, they can't fight the regime, you know, by going up to people and punching them in the nose. You know, you need a rifle. And, you know, they don't have rifles. Only the regime has rifles. So, I guess they're probably, the people secretly or the U.S. or, you know, the Israelis, they're trying to arm up maybe the citizenry so they can take over their own country. Maybe that's what's happening. Believe me, I don't have privileged information. Nope. I read the news like everybody else. And these are clips that I've taken from, I've made pictures of, print screen, you know. Washington Post, you see AP right there? So this was abstracted from the Associated Press. U.S. military contractors need at least 3 years to replenish stockpiles of 3 key weapons systems used heavily in the Iran war. That's probably true. But, you know, they test out some new stuff and, you know, and they use some of the old stuff. So that when they replenish, it's all the most recent versions of the firmware, the software, you know, the wingspans and yeah. So I did a little AI question. I said, for the Model Y, what is the configuration of hardware version 4? What does that mean? And it's, you know, just for information. Today's Tesla Model Y utilizes a 9-camera configuration powered by the latest hardware HW4 vision system, which is the software. Tesla shifted from the old 1.2 megapixel sensors cameras to the much sharper 5 megapixel RGB lenses. It offers vastly superior low light clarity and anti-glare capabilities for full self-driving and autopilot. The system relies on 8 exterior cameras and 1 interior camera. It's got a front bumper camera, 2 windshield cameras, two side repeater cameras mounted on the front fenders, pointed backwards to illuminate the blind spots. It's really quite nice. You know, you put on the left-hand signal, and there's a picture that pops up on your display that's about this size. I would say, 3 by 6, 3 by 7 inch picture showing the entire blind spot, as if you were looking through your mirror, but better. The mirror view that the U.S. standard is, a slightly convex mirror, so that would give the illusion of a wide angle when you look into a convex mirror. But the camera is just wide angle, so when you look at it, it's beautiful color, or it's raining or evening, black and white. But it really, it shows that there's either a car or there isn't a car, or an obstacle of any sort. In your left-hand side, when you're gonna, change lanes with the left-hand signal or make a turn. Same thing. You push up the stalk to make a right-hand turn. Right across your display is a 3-inch by 7-inch picture of what the mirror would look like if it was a mirror. And it's a very clear view. Yeah. So you got 2 cameras on the left, 2 cameras on the right, 2 cameras on the front in the windshield, 1 camera down there by the right above the license plate, and then there's another camera on the back end right above the license plate, wide angle camera. So when you're backing up, that camera illuminates on your screen, and you can see if you're running over some little kid or getting ready to hit a trash can or a concrete pole or something. Yeah. We are not promoting any gambling of any sort. No, we don't. This is more of a mathematical exercise, and I'm showing you how to produce a nice looking summary of what the Florida Mega Millions thing would look like. I've used numbers. Now, this could be all kinds of statistics. It could be baseball. It could be softball. I've grabbed a camera view of the Florida website and made a print screen of these, of what the numbers were picked last time, which would have been Tuesday, Friday. These lotteries are pulled on a Tuesday night at 11 p.m. and Friday night. So, like Saturday morning, you can see these so you know if you have them any winning numbers or not.
It's 2:45.
Now the 331 million, 331 million, I mean that's a ridiculous prize to win, but that's what the number is. Jackpot lump sum would then be 149 million, round numbers. It's about 45% of the full jackpot, and the only way to get that is over a 29-year period of time. You get one. So with this one, there you go. You get a check for $4,980,000, and then it gets followed by the next year. You get this day one if you elect the annuity, and it's a 5% growing annuity. It took me a long time to figure out how to calculate what that first payment is, because the mathematical question in words would be, if the jackpot is 331 million and it's a 5% growing annuity, what would the first payment be? And then you calculate the 5% growing. So the next payment, 4,980,000 would be 105% of that number. That would be the second one. In which case, let's see, do I know what that is? It's, 5 million, let's see, 5 times 4, it'd be like 5,170,000 or something, 5% bigger. And then the next one would be 5% bigger than that. And the miracle of compounding would make the 30th payment, 29 years from whenever you collect this, is almost like 19 million. I mean, it's, and then you add up that whole row of numbers, adds up to 331 million. Yep. What's the first payment? That's the hard question. Took a couple of weeks to figure out that. Underneath that number, in other words, if I were to click on that number on the actual spreadsheet, this is not the actual spreadsheet. This is a picture. A picture of the spreadsheet. This is a math exercise I decided to do in my spare time. Most people do a lot of other different things. That's what Jimmy does in his spare time. Yeah, I mean, that's all. It's just for the fun of it. I am not connected with the lottery in any way. They don't know me. I don't know them. I have not called them on the phone to find out what their formulas are. I just figured it out. Yeah. And accordingly, we've got disclaimers and warnings: do not gamble. You can read that in your leisure. Our advisors said, have a disclaimers page. You got to do that, Make sure everyone understands where you're coming from. Tesla has these cyber trucks. So here's a parking lot with a whole bunch of cyber trucks, 20 or 30 of them all parked. They're not selling well. Now, Tesla doesn't have dealerships with big lots where they would store You know, General Motors and Ford and Toyota and whatever. They all have dealerships in many of the states, actually. When Tesla 12, 13, 14 years ago decided to sell cars all over the country, they wanted no dealerships. You know, so state by state, some states challenged Tesla because they say, well, that's not fair. You need to have lots full of cars in inventory. Tesla said, no, we sell them, we manufacture them when someone buys one. And that's what our factories are designed to do. People go on the website, which I can show you here. I just push this button right here. The magic of touchscreen. There's the Model 3. Now up right in this. Oh, I need to skinny this up so you can see everything I'm seeing. There we go. Let's pull this over. Okay, I need to make it a little bit skinnier. There we are. This is all pixels. The amount of pixels that are allocated in the view that we have here, that we're streaming. This is a streaming simulcast over YouTube and Facebook. So I'm going to press the Tesla button. Let's do menu, maybe that's better. There we go. Touch vehicles and touch Model Y. That's what I have. Let's do that one more time. Vehicles. They have a couple of, there's a button here called inventory. So they might have 2 or 3 cars on the service, because when they deliver the cars to customers, they deliver them to the service center, and then you get a text message or an email that says your car is ready. So they deliver to the service center, and then the service center performs some pre-delivery. They do pre-delivery procedures, I'll say it that way, where they make sure the tires are inflated to 42 pounds per square inch, each tire. They would wash the car. They would vacuum the car, take off any plastic that might be covering the seating, that kind of thing. Make it ready for beautiful delivery. Now, sometimes a person doesn't take delivery. For some reason or other, it's roughly a 2-week process. 2, 3, 4 weeks. When you order a car, everyone orders a car. See, order now. So I'm going to push the button that says order now. There you go. And then we get the screen and we can pick, if I can see this. Yeah, premium all-wheel drive. You got choices here, and you can see there's different pricing. Rear-wheel drive. Let's do cash. There you go, so you can see. So rear-wheel drive is $40,000 less $10. So you got rear-wheel drive, then you got all-wheel drive, So that costs $2,000 more. Premium rear-wheel drive is $46,000, less $10. And premium all-wheel drive, which is what we have, whoops, where'd that go? There it is. I touched something with the touch screens are right there. You got to make sure if you're doing the reverse pinch or whatever, you don't let your finger wander. My finger touched something and it went to a different screen. Anyway, so you can see all-wheel drive premium, which is, so and then you have performance, which is like super fast and 20-inch hubs and all that kind of stuff. We got premium all-wheel drive. It works very nicely, if the streets are wet or whatever, the all-wheel drive. There's no slippage, no skidding. Trade in, we don't have to trade in. All-wheel drive subscription, that's checked. We want red, Fred. Red it's interesting. They call it ultra red. It's a beautiful reddish, maroonish kind of color. Yeah, you want a tow hitch, costs you $1,000. If their service center installs it, which they can, it costs like $1,400. So if you have any idea of maybe towing a boat or whatever, the white interior is magnificent. It's also, really, this is what it looks like. You can see the seating. They're like white panels. It makes for a very nice, there's the rear seat. Anyway, we're looking at pictures. All right. So that's how you order a car with Tesla. And you pick it and boom, you get everything the way you want it. And then you go down. I didn't do it because it gets a little, when you're using touch screen, it gets a little flaky when you're trying to, see, now I'm stuck on these pictures. And I can't see how to get out of it. Order now. Whoops, I got the wrong car. Menu. Sorry, folks. Vehicles. I'm doing a Model Y because that's what we have. And I'll be familiar with what's going on here. Order now, push that button, and then I'm gonna, there we go. And then you can see the choices I made. And do I have detail? No trade. Oh boy, this rear-wheel drive, I want premium all-wheel drive. There you go, you get a few more choices for color. Yeah, look at that. There's the red. There's the white interior. Yeah, which costs you an extra $1,000. Here's your warranty, 50,000 miles or 4 years. Whichever occurs first. In the 3-year leases that we do, let's make sure we're on leasing. I originally started on cash. Let's just go to lease, because that's what we do. We turn the car in every 3 years and get another one. That way you're up to snuff on all and they really have improved the entire driving of the car. I noticed, from one lease car to the next one 3 years later, you go, oh my God, it's so much quieter. And when you're used to driving your car for 3 years with a certain configuration and the way it was manufactured and everything, and then 3 years later, you drive, a new car with all the new factory techniques, and the way in which they keep, the soundproofing of the car and everything. It's really, the suspension, I noticed. First day we had the car, just driving it up into the parking garage, which, has, when you drive in and out of a parking garage for 3 years, you get to know where the bumps and the jumps are, and as you're riding and you're turning, to get out of the parking garage. And then, 3 years later, you're in a brand new Tesla compared to the 3 years ago Tesla. And it's just unbelievable, the improvements. So here you go. Your lease payment, they calculate, is 745 hours monthly. 955 hours due today. And there you go, you do your credit card and that's it. And that includes a $250, see the $250 right there, non-refundable order fee, just to keep everybody honest. So when you click that button, order with credit card, see, now you put your name and your address and your card number in there and all that. Expiration date, and then when you press order, you're in. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how you order your car. There's no dealerships. Now, if you feel unsteady about this whole procedure with the online and everything, you can go into the service center and they may have a car you can demonstrate and drive. Go drive as a demonstration. And someone will drive with you. He'll sit in the passenger seat and you'll sit in the driver's seat and you drive the car and see if you like it. They have, generally they have 1, 2, 3 of the models, 4 of the models, whatever. And then you can drive it. All the cars, when you get in, they look really very similar. If you were just plopped in the seat and looking out the windshield, you wouldn't know which car you're in. It'd be hard for you to tell. Now with the Model 3, it's, a 4-door sedan, and, with a trunk, typical trunk, and a frunk up forward, because there's no big motor up there. So you can put a nice big ice chest in there. Now the Model Y is, like a SUV, a trimmed down SUV. So when you open up the rear part of the car, it's not a trunk, it's like an SUV. The whole back end of the car opens up. Literally up. And then you put your stuff in there or sit back there and tailgate. Anyway, we're on our second car now, and in March of 2027, which is not that far away. We're in May, so it's 9 months from now. Our second 3-year lease will be up, and then with the third one we're going to get, I think we had black with black interior, we got black with white interior, and now we're going to do the maroon red, whatever they call it. What do they call it? Ultra red. Don't have the, we don't need that. I don't need that either. There we go. So the due, let's see, there we go, the lease payment $745. And the due at signing is $490. I took something off there. And that's because I checked off the all-weather interior liners. They kind of like mail order that to you. And the full self-driving subscription, which actually they charge a month after you first get the car. The full self-driving is unbelievable. I can you put in there Houston's. You want to go to Houston's for dinner, or lunch, brunch, on Sunday, Friday, Saturday or Sunday, and you push start, and it takes you right to the restaurant. It drives the car completely automatically. Now they call it full self-driving supervised. So you're supposed to have your eyes forward, looking at the windshield and through the windshield, and make sure that it's driving properly. Now it drives properly, but just in the just in case it doesn't quite do something right, you can grab the steering wheel, or you can push on the brake pedal, whatever you think you need to do to avoid any kind of a collision, in case the full self-driving got flummoxed and mixed up somehow and was going to crash into a tree. Let's say. Anyway, so you just sit and you watch forward, have a conversation, whatever, and 10 minutes later, the car is parking itself in Houston's for you to go, or you grab the parking, and I have a handicap sticker, so I haven't seen a choice of parking it in handicap. Anyway, they're working on those edge cases, they call it, for the parking in your garage. I wanted to park in parking spot number 266, and there needs to be an input where I can do that. All right, so I'm going to get rid of this buying a car business. Yeah, we're not done with it. 9 months from now. Now, what's going to happen 7 months from now? So around January, about 2.5 months before the end of the lease, this is what happened on the last one. Someone from Tesla will call me or text me with a big long message saying, hey, I got a deal for you. You want to turn your car in a couple months early? We'll pay the couple of months on your lease if you'll turn it in early. And just pick your car out. You know, go to the site and pick the car that you want. And, you know, just have the delivery set for, well, you know, the delivery will be whatever the availability is, you know, when they come out of the factory. So in about 2 weeks, you get, you know, we'll be calling you because your new car will be ready at the service center. And then you can turn in your old car. And that's it. And that's what happened last time. Let's see if they do it this time. And about 10 weeks before the lease maturity, Tesla's going to get a hold of me and make me an offer of turning the car 2 months early. They'll pay the 2 months. They'll also give you a $500 allowance for any dings or dangs you got. We don't put a lot of miles on the car. So when we turn it in, it's a 30,000 mile lease. We would have only driven like 19,000 miles. So they pick up 11,000 miles worth of, you know, value on the car, you know, because your odometer reading, if you know, it. So instead of going over mileage, we're way under, you know, like 30% under. So that's an advantage for Tesla. They don't know that. I just know that. So when they calculate, you know, what kind of exposure they have on taking the car back, we have a little, Marilyn, someone backed into our car and put a dimple in the back of the car, just, you know, about a half-inch dimple. So that damage will be debited, credited, you know, to the $500 damage allowance they're going to give me. And, you know, you go all around the car, take pictures of each wheel, put a quarter in there, and they see how much tread you have. The tires they're like brand new. You wouldn't even know there was any driving on the car. Yeah. So, you know, you go through a car wash, get your car all cleaned up, and then you go all around the car and take pictures with your phone, and you send the pictures to them. You do the same thing with all 4 wheels. With a quarter, you just slip it in the tread so they can see how much tread's left on the tires, which is, you know, like lots of tread. We don't zoom around, you know, we don't do hard turns. You accelerate after the turn. You don't accelerate in the turn, because that puts pressure on the outside tread. Yeah, so if you wonder why your outside tread is worn on the front wheels, it's because you're powering into turns, and you're supposed to power out of the turn, not power into the turn, if that makes any sense to you. Anyway, so the last time we didn't have any tread, we didn't have any tire issues. You know, if you wore out all the tires, they'd make you replace all the tires when you turn the car in. Whether or not you got another one, you know, it's just a turn-in issue. So that could cost you a couple $1,000 if you wear out your tires. Anyway, that's what Tesla did. About 10 weeks early, they said, hey, do this, with the taking the pictures all around. And they want interior pictures to see if you cut up the seats. I guess, you never know with some people. The seats look perfect in our car. There are no holes in the seats. They're not stained in any way. And it looks like every time you get in the car, it looks like a brand new car. And we're, like 2.5 years into a 3-year lease. We do the leasing rather than the ownership business because there's so much technology in the car. They have actuators and, it's all electronic in every way. So, and there's so much advancement in a 3-year period. I'd rather not be in the car business. With a closed-end lease, which means at the end of the lease, it's over. So you either buy out the car or turn it in at the end of the lease period. Now, in the case of the Tesla, in their contracts, they don't let you buy out the car. They want the car because they're going to put it out in this, robo-taxi cybercab business. And, so they'll have the robo-taxis, which is a 2-seated car. And if you needed 3 or 4 seats, so you order up a robo-taxi to take yourself to the airport, let's just say. And that's what's happening right now in Austin, Houston, and Dallas. They're going to be infiltrating those 3 markets immediately with cybercabs and robotaxis. And you download an app into your iPhone like you would like Uber, Uber. Uber, you can, call up and take yourself here or there, take yourself to the airport. That way you don't leave the car in the parking lot and end up with a $120 parking fee because you had the car in there for 4.5 days or something. So, a lot of people leave their car at home and just Uber to the airport. And then you can Uber back, so in the case of Uber, it's about $50 each way to go to the Fort Lauderdale or the Palm Beach airport from our residence in downtown Boca Raton. It's 22 miles to the Fort Lauderdale airport, or it's 22 miles to the Palm. We're right smack between the two. Really. It's exactly 22 miles in either direction, north or south. Now, the Fort Lauderdale airport is a little bit bigger. So, if you're going to Fort Lauderdale to Milwaukee, just as an example, you might have 4 or 5 different, every day, 4 or 5 different ways to get to Milwaukee. If you use the Palm Beach airport, there might only be 2 flights a day. So there's a little more flexibility in some of the bigger airports. Now, Palm Beach International is not a little tiny airport. It's a big international airport. But Fort Lauderdale Airport is, a tad bit, bigger. Let's say 20, 30, 40% bigger. So you have more flights. So if you have a particular flight time when you have to be in a city at a certain time, you probably have a better shot with the Fort Lauderdale Airport. But, if you're on vacation and you really don't have it being a hassle, you can use the Palm Beach International Airport, either getting to South Florida or leaving from South Florida. Anyway, since the distance is almost exactly the same, I mean to the mile, we look at both airports to see which is the most convenient. Yes, sirree, Bob. So, let's see here. There is an article. Apple will pay you. Whoops. Touch that one. There we go. Oops. You need to skinny it. Come on. Touch screens are nice, but you gotta watch where your finger goes. There you go. You can see that. Yeah. iPhone. Apple will now pay you more when trading in an iPhone, iPad, Mac, or watch. Yeah. Well, that's good. Let's see. Maximum trade-in value now is $695 for the phone, $550 if it's an iPad, and $465 if it's a Apple Watch. Yeah, and you get yourself a new one. Every couple of years, you know, the advancements of the cameras and so forth. We have this bigger one over here on this side. The cameras, you know, on these phones. And we're picture takers, you know. Oh my God. We're big time picture takers. You can take a picture of the moon with the iPhone, which is like unbelievable. Yep. So if I go to my photo album, there we go. We were talking about Teslas and the Cybertruck. They only sold 4,000 of them last quarter, where they're selling 70,000. You know, Model Ys and Model 3s. So they're not, these are kind of weird looking, you know, as you can tell with the hard lines. They're just not selling, you know. It's just a little too weird looking. And when you see it, when you stand up and look at, I mean, it's strikingly weird looking. When you see them when you're driving around, it's one thing, but when you stand up next to these, they are really, you know, different. I think they just went a little too crazy with the design of this. Inside, you wouldn't know the difference between sitting in my Model Y as if you're sitting in a Cybertruck. I was in the parking lot one time in a charging supercharger, and there was a guy right next to me, and he was walking around the car wiping it off while it was charging, and I was just, so when he was, you know, he was parked right next to me, and we were charging up the cars. So I asked him, I said, so how do you like the Cybertruck? He says he really loves it. And I looked, and he said, you want to get in and take a look? So I got in and looked around and everything, and I said, my God, it's just exactly the same as if you were sitting in a my car, Model Y. All the buttons and everything are in the same exact place. Now, when you get out of the car, exterior, you know, it's a big difference. And obviously there's more room in the rear area where the truck part, you know, is. But it's amazing from a front seat perspective, you wouldn't know which car you're in if you had your eyes closed. And then open your eyes and say, oh, which car are you in? You wouldn't know. Anyway, so that's why I clipped that picture. one of our number 3 son is riding around in a scooter, and now he says, I think I'd be more interested in one of these e-bikes. I said, I bet you are. Your ankles are probably worn out from the scootering. So this one has a battery that fits into this piece of it goes down in the front of the bike, and this whole black thing pulls out so you can take the battery up into your place and charge it, and maybe lock up the bike in a different location outside the building that you're in or whatever. That's why that picture happened to be in this setup. And there's the ordering of the bike. They call it a Borsa. And these things can go 35 miles an hour, which I would recommend you do not do. I mean, we have electric bikes, and when you get up to 20, I could get my bike going 25 miles an hour. Here it says 28. I couldn't get to 28. I got to like 23. And believe me, when you're going 23 miles an hour on a bike, it seems like you're going a zillion miles an hour. It's too fast. Most people, including myself, don't know how to deal with that kind of speed, and how much braking distance you need, and is the road a little sandy, and is your wheels gonna, slip and slide with the sand, or you hit a stone, or I don't know what. You don't want to get run over by a car in your bike. And you don't ride in the street with these things. You ride like on sidewalks. I mean, there is a bike path, outlined on the side of the road, but too many wise guys. I mean, there are not many, but there's enough wise guys, and they'll ride over and just shove you over, with their car. They'll just drive over and knock you over. And then you're tumbling and so forth, and they just keep riding on the road. I mean, they look around and they don't see anybody in any direction. So they're riding down in the same direction you're going. And you think everything is, copacetic. And they'll just slide over quickly and knock you off the bike. They got an old truck that's got scratches all over it anyway, so. But you don't scratch. You scratch and dent a little differently than a car. Because now you're dealing with your skin and your knees and your elbows and your head and I had a good someone I knew very well, who's a professional engineer, which I used for examining our buildings monthly. He'd send me monthly reports and all that. And he was a health nut, and he was riding bike all the time. He was riding bike. And I don't know if he got swiped by a car or just, hit a pothole, and the steering, your handlebars, so the handlebars went into his body and screwed up his liver and I mean, he was in the hospital for like 6 weeks. Now that's a long time to be in a hospital. I had quadruple bypass surgery and I was in the hospital for 10 days. and that seemed like forever. So I can't imagine, 10, 60, 70 days, multiply that by 7. Oh my God. 70 days as opposed to 10 days is a big difference. But, this friend of mine, he was riding his bike and he hit a pothole or something. I don't know what he hit. He's a health nut, so he's always riding and, staying in very good shape. And he was in very good shape. And bam, he ended up in a bike accident. And it almost killed him. It wasn't involved in a car. There was no car involved. It was just him, and the bike and the steering, not the steering wheel, what do you call it, the handlebars, and, the rest of Earth. I don't know whether he hit a tree, with all, I don't know what the full story was, and I haven't seen him recently. I did see him at one time, a couple of years after this accident, and he said, "Yeah, I feel fine. I healed up okay. Took a long time. I was in rehab for 6 months, and I was in the hospital for 6 or 7 weeks, and damn near killed me. He had hoses out of his body, drainage hoses, because of the surgeries, and phew, God, just riding by." I said, "Were you still riding a bike?" I forget what the answer was. Anyway, be careful riding these bikes. A 750 watt motor. See right here, 700. That is. Now I have a 350 watt motor in the hub, that rear hub, and a 750 watt motor is giving you 950 Newton meters of torque. So when you turn your handle, your right hand rotates, and the more you rotate, the faster you go. And you can feel that motor going, oh my Lord. It accelerates, and you can feel the acceleration. It's very powerful. Electric motors. You don't have to zoom the engine. The motor gives you lots of torque right from a dead stop. So when you're trying to, get across the street, you hop on that bike and you turn that wheel, and it goes big time. Your maximum payload 440 pounds. I mean, if you had someone sitting behind you. So if that was a seat back there rather than like some kind of cargo thing. Yeah, anyway. Lithium-ion batteries. Yeah. Wow. So iOS is the operating system in iPhones. As you can see with this picture, there's an iPhone. Just skinny this up. You just skinny all these up so you can see. There you go. iOS 26.6. What's new? Yeah, so they keep improving the software. So every month or so, you get an invitation to download the newest software. Let me look on my iPhone here if there's any new. There's an Amber Alert. So let's just take a look. Let's close up all these. There we go. So they want you to keep the Tesla app open at all times. Yeah. Cars parked at Glades Road. That's where Marilyn works, yeah. So I'm going to settings, which is here. And I'm going to go to general. Here, let's do it on the iPad so that way you can see. All right. So, let's skinny this up a little bit more. That's good. Let's over this way a little bit. There you go. Now you see everything. So we're on settings. Let's go back. So I'm going to go to the app with the gear on it. The app that looks like right above the word general, you see that. That's the app. You press, iPhones and iPads are touchscreens, so you touch general, and then you do software update, and it searches to see if your system, 26.6. Wow, look at that, a 19 gigabyte download. Phew, that's big. Let's do it now. All right. I agree with the software licensing arrangement. Agreed terms. There we go. All right. You can do it on my iPhone also. General. If it works on the iPad, it would work on the iPhone. Software update. Let's see if there's anything available. The only update available is if it's beta. All right, let's do beta. I'll do beta. I am an approved Apple beta person. There we go. 9 gigabyte update now. All right, I agree to the terms. So now it is update requested. There you go. You can see on the iPad that it is about 9 minutes. Yeah. 26.6. No, that's the version of the software. But on the iPhone it was like a 9 gigabyte download. And you can see update requested on the iPhone, and on the iPad. Brighten up the screen just a tad for me. About 9 minutes remaining. So we are simulcast. We are streaming this broadcast this afternoon, which is now 3:38 p.m. as you can see in this clock over here, and also you see this right here, 3:38 and 50. This is within 50 milliseconds of the time. So you can set your watch on that. Yes, sir, Bob. Or whatever your name is. Hey, Bob. Yep, just getting this microphone thingy adjusted a little bit. Yeah, you can pick up the side of you, or you can pick up the front of you. The side of you gives you nice tonal qualities, right? You just position yourself about 4 inches from the microphone, and the microphone does the rest. You don't have to do a thing, just pay attention. Yeah, just watch what you say. Where they say, be a man of your word, just watch what you say. Yeah, that's... So, Elon is hell-bent to manufacture these Tesla robots. And he's going to say, he says, this is the most exciting product ever made in the world today. And everybody's going to want one. Maybe two. I said, Marilyn, I got to have a robot. I said, I don't want some retired Jamaican lady taking care of me when I get, to the point where I need help, in the residence, assuming you're working or you're doing charity work or whatever the hell you're doing. And if you're somewhere else, I need someone to keep an eye on me. And I want a robot. Yeah, I think it's going to revolutionize the health industry, big time. It's a lot cheaper to have a properly programmed robot, take care of my bodily needs. Like if I need help getting out of my wheelchair, I don't have a wheelchair, but let's say I'm 87 years old and I need help walking the dog. So I said, come on, I've already got the name for the robot. His name is going to be Charles. I said, Charles, would you get me a cocktail, Charles? Charles, please take out the trash. And I'll train the robot on how to take the trash. You go out of the door, you lock the door behind you, you have a key wrapped around your neck, like I do. I got my this is a nice leather strap. I have another one of these hanging on the door for Charles. So they're going to manufacture these things for about, let's just say, $12,000 a piece. That's what he says, 10 or 11,000. I'm going to add 1,000. So maybe it's 15,000. So that would cost, if the financing terms are similar to an automobile, that would, you compare the price of a $50,000 car or $10,000 robot, is about 1/5. Well, if you divide, for $200 a month, you should be able to have a robot in your residence. That'd be the same like financing terms that I have on a car. $200 a month, $250 a month, and then you teach it some of the specialty items that you need this robot to deal with. And one of the things would be to carbonate water. You show the robot how to do that. And you show it how to get the container of, I have these little brown bottles. They're exactly a 5-second pour, like in a bar, if you were bartending. So instead of having to do that, I pre-pour them and put them in the freezer. So if I'm going to have a cocktail, just reach in the freezer, grab one of these little containers, twist off the top, pour it right over the ice cubes, and then you pour the soda on top of that, and that's it. That's the vodka and soda. And they're pre-measured by pouring them into these little brown bottles. Yeah. It's about 5.5 ounces of vodka, which is, but I put it in a 20-ounce tumbler. So it's like 2 drinks in one. I only drink one of them, I've had 2 of them, but then I get hammered and get sleepy. But if I have one, that's like 2 cocktails. It's like, it's a 5-second pour. So it's about 2 or 3 ounces of vodka. Anyway, so there you go. There's an iOS update coming to you in living color. We don't have to. That'll take care of it. That's operating independently of everything else I'm doing here. We can multi-process. So American Airlines picks SpaceX's Starlink for its in-flight Wi-Fi for 500 of its planes. There's 2 American Airlines planes landing at the same time on separate runways, like in Fort Lauderdale Airport. They have 2 runways in a certain direction. So they're both landing. One's a little higher off you can see the landing gears down on both. This one's almost on the runway, and this other one is not quite there yet. There that is. There we go. So SpaceX the Starlink is owned. That division is owned by SpaceX, and it's called Starlink. And every week or so, Elon sends up these satellites into what is known as low Earth orbit, which I don't know how many, what the elevation of that would be. It's like maybe 500,000, 12 miles up, low Earth orbit, maybe 20 miles up. I actually don't. Hey Siri, what is the elevation of the Starlink satellites above Earth?
Here's an answer from Tasmanian.com.
There we go. That's pretty nice, huh? We're going to do a little print screen here. I've learned how to do that. When you ask these questions, you do a print screen real fast, and then you can 355 miles up. There we go. The low Earth orbit is 350 miles up. Yeah. Thank you very much. So because it's a low Earth orbit, they, in about 2 or 3 years, they come down out of orbit and they end up burning up in the atmosphere. There's a normal decay in the orbits, particularly when the orbit is low. There's a very slight amount of atmospheric, interference with the satellite, physically. A little bit of wind resistance, but very little, It's just a couple of atoms of, oxygen and nitrogen or whatever. So the satellite just slows down a little bit, over a 2 or 3 year period, and then it falls out of orbit and enters the Earth's atmosphere at 17,000 miles an hour and burns up in the atmosphere. So, then Starlink has to send up another one to replace that. Well, in a 3-year period of time, the satellite technology, advances, just like my Tesla car gets, drives better and better, every time I turn in the car and get a new one, it really works a whole lot better. Same thing when I turn in my iPhone. I turn a TNT plan that permits me to turn in the phone. It's called an early turn-in, so it's an unbelievable plan. I think it's available to anybody. When I get a phone from AT&T, an Apple iPhone, I don't buy it from Apple. I buy it through AT&T, through the account that we have. And the deal is if the phone costs $1,500, let's just say, they take the price of the phone, divide it by 36, and that's your monthly payment. No interest. So why would you buy the phone when you could get free payments over a 3-year period? And they allow me to turn it in. So after about 13 months, every year, I turn in the phone and get another one. And they say, well, we'll pay off the rest of it. You just turn in the phone, and it needs to be in good condition. If it's not, we're going to charge you to bring it up to good condition. If it is in good condition, then you have no other liability, other than the fact that now you got a new phone, and we reset the 36 payment, back to payment 1. And the other contract, you were at payment 13. And we cancel the contract once we inspect your phone when you turn it in, the old one. And, so if there's enough good features about the new phone as opposed to the one you got last year, and there always is just enough good features. Now we'll see. The phone I have right now is so unbelievable. I can't believe that I'm going to be so excited about the new one that I turned it in. What else could they possibly do to this phone to make it better? Yeah, so we'll see. And I won't know until September when they come out with all the specs. So we'll see. This could be the year where I skip, where I don't get the new one. I'll just wait till the next year. I'll keep this one for 2 years. We'll see. But this is, the phone I'm operating with right now, which is updating. You can see that's very characteristic when you have the apple there and then the bar comes across. Yeah, the program is now operating. Let's see how my iPad is doing. Install now. Why is that asking me that? Yeah. Oh, it's verifying the update. Yeah, and then it's gonna. Whoop! I guess. There we go. We're going. Now I'm gonna get the Apple logo in the middle of the screen here. In a few seconds. It's a big update. Oop, there it goes. See, now I got the traditional. There you go. You see that on my iPad? Yeah. You got the Apple logo with the bar going across, which, it'll move along a little faster than the iPhone. The iPhone, there's a lot of stuff going on in the iPhone. Anyway, so that's why you're stuck with me here. Because let's turn up the brightness a little bit in there. In my little studio setup here. Very little. Yeah. So I have a camera up there, so you basically see a side-looking view of Jimbo here. You can see I got my headphones on. My Sony. These are the XM4s. Yeah. This meter right here is the elapsed time that I've been broadcasting this episode 600. This is my 600th video. Can you believe it? Phew. 1 hour and 31 minutes into this broadcast. And I'm going to end now because I think someone's knocking on my door. I think I have a serviceman coming. So the door just ran out of here. So you all have a great evening. And I'm going to say bye-bye.